Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the City of Geneva IDA meeting of December 3rd, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First order of business is the unfinished business for the resolution for the Lakes Edge Inn and Suites application for financial assistance. We've got a lot of things to consider today, but I thought we'd open the meeting to say that we are not going to vote on this today. Some of the comments that were made at the meeting, and we have our counsel here today to help us. We're going to be going into executive session after a short presentation of some of the items, but because there's financial information being considered at the meeting, we have to go into executive session. So we will be meeting next week. We just haven't been able to set on a date yet, but certainly we'll publish that and let you know as soon as possible. Sorry for the inconvenience bringing here, but this was decided more or less late yesterday afternoon. So as a courtesy, you're welcome to stay, certainly welcome to stay through the open session here, but we'll be probably within 15-20 minutes going into the executive section, actually in the next room. So as a heads up, all right, thank you. Sage has got some information that we've got, an overview. In response to some of the things that essentially were brought up on Wednesday or Tuesday.
Great, thank you so much. I wanted to just go over our uniform tax exemption policy so that you all have it right in the front of you in terms of your kind of role and responsibility and the policy that kind of governs your actions. And so, as you know, you have your annual meeting and you kind of re-bless, make changes to any of your policies. So you'll see your last annual meeting was October 15th of this year. So you have the authority to do real property tax abatements, and you have in your policy that is for a period of up to 15 years. You do stepped up percentages as a general norm, although you could always deviate that from that on a case-by-case basis. There's also the sales and use tax exemptions and the mortgage recording tax exemptions. Eric, if you want to just kind of scroll a little bit on that. And you have a list of deviations that you can consider on a case-to-case basis. I also wanted to note that there was in the public hearing, and I should say thank you to everyone for all the comments. You received a lot. You did receive all of those yesterday to be able to digest and review and go through again after listening to it to be able to digest more. Also want to say thank you to Erica and Adam and our Harris Beach team for all their efforts to pull this and get you the information that you need. So in the public hearing, you heard some requests in terms of what's formally called as recapture of benefits. Clawback was the word used. And so you do have in your policy many items for recapture that can be included in the agreement, as well as you can add additional ones as well. So that's just kind of a quick overview of the policy. It is on our website, and you all have that document too. Quick just overview of the project. As you know, you are doing the hotel and restaurant portion on that parcel. Tied to the larger project is the condominiums.
Is it a condominium?
They are condominiums.
So they're not
Yes.
townhomes.
They're not townhomes. They are condominiums. So what is new that I wanted to review, Erica, if you could share the screen on the cost benefit analysis. Huge thank you to MRB Group has created a new tool so it can take you request and you gather during the application process and be able to put it into a tool for the economic impacts. So I'm just going to kind of go through these. We'll put this up on our website too as well. So we are provided information on, what the project is going to cost, and then also the full-time and part-time jobs. And you'll see on the first page, I made a note, the applicant is estimating that there's going to be 20 to 30 full-time jobs and 10 to 20 part-time jobs. So I was on the conservative side and just said 30 full-time jobs to kind of pull in the anticipated part-time, but not overestimate that. So then we're able to plug in as well what is currently on the application in terms of the property tax exemption request, as well as the sales tax exemption, the mortgage tax exemption. Then we're able to add in for us anticipated sales tax for the city, and anticipated sales occupancy tax, as well as our water and sewer, which were average, Adam and I calculation over the year goes from about 200,000 to 215,000. There is also building permit fees in that first year. So that is able to be plugged into that. And so you will see on the backside, should note that the local benefit to the public under the sales tax, what are my notes to make sure you have the county amount for the local sales tax exemption. When it says local under property tax revenue is city, county, and school district tax. But the sales tax revenue, yes, under the local benefits is both county and city during the period. But we were able to put in our city amount as well. So if you go down to the bottom, you can see the benefit there of about 38 million over the 15-year period. And then the cost for that you all are considering for that. So again, I'll put this on the website for folks to be able to digest, and you all have copies as well.
Are there any questions? Pretty understandable. Okay.
Great.
Just one point on the sales tax there. It's not money we receive totally, correct?
That's what I'm saying. It is county and so on, for example, I think like 3 million, we get about $25,000
Yeah, I mean,
generated, is of our cost share.
yeah, that's a point to make in terms of sales tax. It's generally only get a portion, a fairly small portion of that actually comes to us.
Correct. So that is about $25,000 in sales tax is the conservative estimate on the kind of retail and food and beverage oriented pieces. Yes. Great. Any other questions on that? We have some folks from the project. I know, Lowell, you had some more engineering focused or architecture focused questions. And so I don't know if you want to ask those to Joel now.
I did, but I also wanted to ask if, I went to an exercise where I looked at a different duration,
Yes.
10, 15 years. Can we speak to that today or?
Yeah, you'll be able to talk about that and then you can come back and at the next meeting, you can talk about those since we'll be diving into what might be possible.
Did you want me to do that in executive session?
Yep,
only?
because those
Not
are-
in the public? Okay.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
You can just say you guys are considering looking at a deviation of what you might do in terms of what they've requested. You all are open and looking at different terms and years. That is
Okay.
great.
Well, that is true.
Yes, that's what just so folks know that is what is on your plate and
Okay.
of interest to you all. Great.
On the engineering side, I'm just speaking to the camera, is that?
Yes, I think so. And
Okay,
hopefully Joel can
They're in the camera
unmute.
somewhere.
Yep.
Just a few things. When I reviewed the plans, I noted that there was a reference to maintaining these iconic historic trees on site, but I didn't see anything on the plans where it indicated any trees are to be saved. It seemed like the whole place was going to be cleared, and that was one question. I'll just go through the other ones. On the traffic impact, I kind of felt that because the left turn leaving is the most difficult and challenging turning movement, I didn't see the traffic impact study, but I wanted to make sure that it was done when the college was in session, when you'd have the peak traffic and the peak hour. The other thing I noted was that there was a big grade change, finished floor of the townhomes to the existing grade or the proposed grade, something like 15 feet. So retaining walls as part of the foundation walls will probably have to be built in. I noted that it'll be the city's water mains. That's the only thing that the city will own on the site, if I remember right. They're in easements. And I can understand that. You want that to be a public ownership and public maintenance. I was worried a little bit about fire trucks access through the site. It seemed a little tight. I understand that the fire department did look at that and they found that they were acceptable. I would have made the roads a little wider, the turning radii a little bit bigger, but apparently our guys are happy with it. The existing sanitary sewer on the site is 16 feet deep. It's going to be interesting to connect to that. I didn't see any details about that. And the railroad crossing was just indicated as going to happen. I don't know how that will happen and what they need to do as far as permitting, just for pedestrians to get to boats or whatever might happen there. There was one more odd thing. The townhouses, each townhouse will have its own sewage pump station. And in one case, I think there's 19 small diameter pipes in one trench, and for 19 different condominiums. So I can see a nightmare in the future if one of those force mains breaks, and how would you tell who owns it? So that was just, those are just the basic things I saw. I noted that the plans were pretty good in their condition. I just had those kinds of questions.
Hey guys, good morning. Joel Torielli, architect with WJCA. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thanks for your questions. I was writing them down as quickly as I could, so I'll try to go through them in order, try to answer them as best I can. So we'll start with the trees on the property. I don't know if you have the civil plans prepared by Marathon, but there is a lighting and landscape plan. We are planning to maintain the trees along the north and south property lines, and there's a group of trees down closer to Seneca Lake on the north side of our property. We plan on keeping those. We're also planting new trees throughout the site. Obviously, we need to clear some trees for the buildings. We are planting new trees and keeping what we can. As far as the traffic study, I don't have that pulled up in front of me, but it was a professional traffic study done. They did agree to a look back, I think between 6 and 12 months, if I'm not mistaken, if there's any adverse effects. But we did submit a traffic study as part of our seeker determination. Next question had to do with grade changes for the townhomes. So you're correct. We are planning, the site does slope from Lockland down to Seneca Lake Seneca. So part of our design for the townhomes is the garages and the front doors are actually on level 2. And then you go up or down, there's a lower level. So we're building them in. So yes, the back wall of the lower level is going to be a retaining wall of the townhomes. So they're built into the landscape. Let's see, next question had to do with the water main ownership. We are currently working with Neil and the water department on the sanitary, all the utilities in the water, as far as ownership and the easement of that. I think we have that resolved with the water department. Fire truck access, again, we've submitted the plans and we're still working on the final CDs, which will be a much more developed, many more details, but we did submit the plans to Neil, who circulated those through the various departments. We did actually get comments back late yesterday from Neil. So those are ongoing to make sure we obviously have the proper turning radiuses for all the fire apparatus that may or may not be required in the future. Next question I do with sanitary connection depth. We're working on that with our MEP and civil engineers. We recognize it is pretty low through the site, and then it goes towards the lake and heads north up along the lake. So we're incorporating that in our engineering design, trying to mitigate the use of pumps as much as we can. To jump ahead to the pumps, the initial plan did have pumps just for buildings 500 and 400, which are closest to the lake. As of this week, we're still engineering that, but we do like the idea of combining those into a pump station. Obviously, if you have many pumps, it's many opportunities for the pumps to fail. So we're looking at doing a pump station to gang those townhomes together. But right now, those two buildings are below the lowest invert, so we will need to pump up to get to the sanitary line. I believe the last question I have is on the railroad crossing, the pedestrian crossing. We are planning that as part of phase 3. We've talked to Norfolk Southern Railroad. We have the application process to find for a pedestrian crossing there to access the lake for the dock. And yeah, we're planning on pulling all the permits for that, getting that filed. We recognize that's a long lead time, but we're prepared to do that as part of the next phase of the project. Hope that answers all your questions, or if you have any follow-ups, I'll be happy to try to answer those for you.
Okay, good, thanks. I just said one more that I didn't bring my list, but it's in my head. Stormwater pollution prevention plan, the SWIP. I didn't see, I know you're supposed to detain and treat and control runoff stormwater. It's kind of fairly new in the last 10 years, but I didn't see this stormwater pollution prevention plan. I suspect you have one and you need to comply. I just didn't see how stormwater was going to be runoff reduction, treatment, storage.
Yep, good question. So you're correct. We do have a plan. It has been prepared. I can kind of walk you through it from a high level if you'd like, but between buildings 500 and 300, we have a large stormwater management facility, which is basically a depressed green field, which will capture all the stormwater. And then it eventually, after going through the ground, connects through a pipe underneath the railroad and goes back down to the lake. There's also a bioretention field between building 200 and the hotel. And there is some stormwater retention and management up near Lockland. So all that's been considered in the design. That's part of our drawings.
I'm sure it has. I just didn't see it. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Well, it's good to know because as the property is, I go by there many times a week. It is fairly low lying, even the upper part in terms. So it does need obviously this storm system to be in place there because even right now you'll have standing water there for weeks on end. And that's to the roadside on the south side of the area. So good to hear you have a plan for it.
I also understand that at some time in the future, after the development is in place, you'll do another traffic impact analysis to see if turning motions might indicate a signal of some sort or a turning lane. So I understand you agreed to do that.
That's correct. So that's at the request of the city. If the city determines after, and again, it's either 6 months or 12 months, but in the future, if the city determines that a look back study is required, yeah, the applicant has agreed to do that. Everything we've done from a traffic analysis standpoint has indicated that a traffic light on Lockland would not be a good design option for a number of reasons. But you know, the possibility of a turning lane or studying the cars queuing in and out of the site at the discretion of the city, that's something we have agreed to do as a look back.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions while we have them online? Thank you, Joel, for your information. Appreciate it.
Yep, a pleasure.
So
Chairman, is it permissible to ask a question?
is that you can?
Yes, it is.
Yes, Ken, if you'd like to, sure.
Thank you. The one question that kind of lingered in my mind, and I mentioned it publicly the other day, is that Marriott has been named as the operator of the hotel restaurant complex. And I wondered, is that binding, or is that just sort of a statement of, I don't know, aspirational, or is it binding? Is there a binding agreement?
Betsy Brugg may be able to speak to that if she can.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was your question?
Betsy,
I think we're having some audio problems with
you hear me?
connection.
Oh. Can you hear me okay or no?
Yes.
That's better.
Yeah, I'm not.
We lost you again.
So I think you have me. Let's see.
Counselor Cameron, Betsy may be able to hear, but they're in the works with Marriott. We can get confirmation of whether there is a final agreement on that or not, but that is the operator that they are working with.
Yeah, Sage, since Beth's having a little bit of trouble with the audio, I can take a shot at this one. I think what you said is correct. The developer is speaking with Marriott. I don't believe that an official agreement's in place. They do plan to have a national flag as the operator of the hotel. I don't believe they've committed to Marriott yet.
I should note that they are, the closing with the current owner will be taking place this month. So that is part of the process and the steps for this project.
Is it possible, just to explain, so national flag is something and then there's Marriott? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, I can probably clarify that. So national flag would just be the brand for the hotel, the operator. So that's just the category of operator. It might be a Marriott. Hilton is another operator.
Oh, I understand. It's a terminology. It's a term of.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the Marriott's is the national flag, for which there's not yet a binding agreement.
That's my understanding, correct?
Thank you.
Yep.
The other question I had just was, you mentioned, you talked about the condos as a phase 2. So is there any idea how that hooks in? In other words, what enforces that second phase to break ground in the agreement?
Go ahead, Joel.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure I understand the question as far as, the project will be phased. So it's not gonna all start at the exact same time. And the developer's still looking at which phase makes the most sense when they're gonna start which. The preliminary plan is to start the hotel and then do the townhouses after, but that could change for a number of reasons. We're working on the permit and construction plans for all the phases. Once we get approvals, then the developer decide which order they want to do them in.
Oh, okay, so there are 2 separate agreements. Completely separate agreements. Even if you're planning the whole thing, they're 2 separate agreements.
Yeah, Counselor Cameron, I can note on that, the condos will be also starting next year. They will be in 3 phases themselves and will be fully built within 5 years. So they'll do a portion of the condos, and Betsy can correct me if and then another portion of them in rapid succession. And we'll be starting on that as well next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and they're 2 separate parcels for this project. So that you got the hotel and the restaurant, of which the IDA is involved with, and then the condominiums.
But so when the agreement's signed for the hotel restaurant complex, the obligation to build the condos is turned into a binding agreement as well.
The IDA could do a recapture benefit regarding the condominiums and put kind of a term, say, if not built within 5 years, they could have the ability to do recapture of benefits. Even though it is a separate parcel, it is a separate project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we go to executive session?
Just a general statement that you said before that I had been considering a different duration rather than 15 years to
Right.
reduce it to be more palatable.
Great.
We'll discuss that, discuss our options here with the attorney present. We're going to the executive session. So if there's no more discussion at this point, I'd like to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Rick? Second. Ben, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to go into the next room, I believe.
And we'll go off YouTube and then come back on YouTube for the rest of our just regular scheduled meeting and agenda items that we do every month. And no decisions on this today.
Yeah, let people know that.
Yeah.
No decisions.
Hey, I don't know what happened with that. That was very weird. 'Cause I am not on mute.
Yeah, right.
We are back out of executive session at 10:05 with a first from Ben and a second from RJ. No action was taken, and we are going to entertain a motion to adjourn and do our regular meeting items at the January meeting.
I'll mention the other meeting next week.
And we are, thank you so much. The IDA will be meeting again on Friday, December 10th at 3:30 or 3 o'clock
3
PM.
o'clock. Here,
We will get the location. Eric will see if it could be here. If it's not here, it'll be at City Hall. And we'll have that up on the website again, December 10th at 3 PM. So entertain a motion to.
adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So adjourned. Thank you.